This is the Biblical Mind Podcast, produced by the Center for Hebraic Thought. Honest 5-star reviews help others find this podcast. Visit the magazine at thebiblicalmind.org for articles and videos that explore the deep structures of Scripture.
Well, hello, fans and friends of the Biblical Mind and the Center for Hebraic Thought. I'm Dr. Dru Johnson, the director of the center, and we've been gone for quite a while now. You may have noticed, maybe you didn't notice, but it's been about a year, and we've been mostly quiet. I've put out a few podcasts, but this is to basically let you know in a nutshell what happened, where do we go. If you knew what my old office looks like, you can tell this is not my old office. And we'll have 2 more episodes talking about what's coming and then maybe probing a little farther into what do you all think we should be doing with the center. The good news is we are relaunching the center as a 501c3, an independent 501c3, through the help of a guy named Mike Tolliver, who is our new executive director, and we have a board of directors, and we'll talk more about that in coming episodes. But for right now, it's just me here to tell you, in case you did not know, the Center for Hebraic Thought was founded mainly on the generous support of the Philos Project. Robert Nicholson was heading the Philos Project at that time, and he was a strong believer in what we were doing. He wanted there to be some place in the world where people were talking about how the biblical authors, and specifically how the biblical literature in the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament, how they thought about the world and how their thinking might help us think about the world today. Hebraic Thought also includes the New Testament, how the New Testament authors, how Jesus, maybe even himself, thought through and along with and extended the thinking of the Hebrew literature. And Hebrew literature, Hebrew Bible, Old Testament, I'm referring to the same thing at this point. And so the Philos Project gave us generous grants every year for 4 years that helped that whole project go on. And honestly, it was me and Abby Smith, now Abby Bartlett, and then Selena Durgan, who was our director of operations, who was also an editor and a marketer, and she kind of made everything run. And it's suffice it to say that if you liked anything about the Center for Hebraic Thought or the Biblical Mind, it was probably Selena Durgan's fault. Okay, so that's where we were. Then in the spring of 2023, basically, we found out that King's College was going to close. The King's College had generously hosted the Center for Hebraic Thought. They'd given me space. They'd helped me with administrative issues and just collecting donations. And that was under the leadership of Greg Thornberry initially, and then President Tim Gibson. And then the board basically decided the college was going to close. And by close, I mean, I think the college technically still has a charter and has a board, but it is no longer in operations in New York City. And it's unclear to me exactly what they are trying to do with that charter for the school. If you want to know more about what happened to the King's College in particular, like the insider baseball that happened there, 2 former students actually did a really good job in investigative journalism. They were journalism students, or at least one of them was, who is now, I believe, become a full-on journalist. And that's called, I have it written here, Broadway in Exchange. It's a podcast. So if you look up Broadway in Exchange podcast or Demise of the Crown, is the series they did where they explore exactly what happened to the King's College. So if you're interested in nonprofit organizations in New York City, Christian higher education, there's lots of things going on there. And I learned a lot from those students who did that investigative work as well. So if you want to know about what happened to King's College, I'll just refer you over there. As far as I can tell, everything they discovered is basically what happened, and they're pretty conservative in how much they speculate. So I appreciated that about their work. King's closed in that spring semester. We found out around March, which meant I had to go look for a job. I found a job here at Hope College in Holland, Michigan, a 1-year visiting appointment. And now this year, I'm both teaching in the prison program here and also on campus just a little bit, but my main job is with Wycliffe Hall at Oxford University, and I'm directing the Abrahamic Theistic Origins project over there. which we hope will have 3 more years of research. It's basically looking at evolutionary science and creation theology across Jewish, Christian, and Muslim scholarship. So that's a big long-term project, a multi-million-dollar project that we'll be doing over there in Oxford. I'll be living over there part-time. But that's looking forward. So if you wondered what happened to the biblical mind, essentially, I had to go look for a job. I had to move away. Some of my kids stayed in the New York City area. One of them came with us. We had lots of jarring things that kind of got foisted upon us all of a sudden when the college closed. We had to change locations. We had to find a church. We had to settle in here not knowing whether we'd be here for more than 1 year. So you can imagine, worse things have happened to much better people, but it was a disruptive year for us. And so I kind of had to put the biblical mind and the Center for Hebraic Thought on the back burner. And again, because of the work of Mike Tolliver, who we'll talk to in coming episodes, you'll get to meet him. He basically came in and said, I'll do everything that is necessary to get this going again. And he's an entrepreneur, a business owner. He's a scholar as well, who's both trained in theology, biblical studies, and philosophy as well. And so he was all in on the mission, and he is the one who's responsible for really getting us going again. And his skill set is exactly what we needed. So we thank you for all of you that have been paying attention. We hope to serve you better in the future. We'll talk about some of the exciting things that we're planning. So not only are we bringing the center back, but we're actually going to do bigger things. And we look forward to all the things in the future. So give us a little time to get back on our feet, to get all the systems up and running again. But we're pulling it out of the mothballed state, and we're putting it back on the road. We look forward to you guys journeying with us.
You've been listening to the Biblical Mind podcast, exploring the deep structures of Christian scripture. For more, visit the magazine at thebiblicalmind.org. Subscribe to this podcast at all the usual places so you never miss an episode.